Hey there! Welcome to our newest series. This is going to be about building fancy picture frames. But first, we need to have the jigs in order to be able to build those picture frames. And that's what we're going to be going and showing you how to do today. So we're going to be building this really fancy picture frame jig, or in essence, this is a spline jig, out of 1/2-inch Baltic birch plywood that you can pick up pretty much just about anywhere. And we're going to show you how to do that, which I don't know if the camera's focusing, but we're going to assume it is. And this way you can build awesome picture frames for your friends, family, and, well, whoever else you think deserves one. So, hey, maybe one for a trade show. Who knows? The point is, you're going to know how to build it after this. So, go ahead and stay tuned for that. And don't forget to hit that like, the subscribe, wherever it is on the screen, I always forget. And also hit that bell notification icon so that way you get updated on all of our newest videos, including the ones about this cool project that we're doing, because this is a series after all. And in the meantime, let's get to the build. All right, before we get started, you definitely want to make sure that you got a good flat tooth blade like this Diablo one here for the splines. We'll leave a link to that down in the description. All right, so first off, we're going to go ahead and start cutting down some 2x4 plywood, 1/2-inch Baltic birch, just to kind of get the inner holding area for the jig going here. So we're just going to cut those down to size. They don't have to be super big. A little wide's not a bad idea. So then we're going to go ahead and do this part here, which is just lining out the area where we're going to be cutting out our proverbial dado. And then we're just going to cut out the waste here real quick. And there we go. Now once you're done, it should look like this. And then we'll show you what to do with that extra little piece there. Should go in like this, which leaves a spot for the T-track to be fitted. Just take a moment and line it up, make sure that it looks all good, and in the end it should come out looking like this. So we got nice alignment, looking good. So to be able to make the two pieces of plywood come in that V formation, we're going to cut two 45-degree chamfers, actually 3, and you'll see why that is in a minute. Should look like this when you're done. After we get done with the 3 chamfers, then we're going to go ahead and glue together 2 of the pieces, and then put some CA glue on there and some activator on the other side. This will speed up the drying process considerably and get you back on the road to move on to the next part of the project quickly. And just get some really good alignment on there and clamp it down. And then for the top piece, just glue that in. And what we basically want to do here is just make sure that we have a really good alignment. So we're going to leave the T-track in and then put the piece in place and then clamp it down before we remove the T-track. Just so that way nothing slides or gets weird. It should be pretty stiff in there. We want it to be a good solid fit. Nice and snug. Now we're just going to go and cut down some more hickory here so this way we can make our runner for the bottom of the sled. And that fits in there real nice right on top of our pennies. We got like 2 pennies on each side to keep it up. I'll throw some CA glue on here and some activator on the other side. And just push that against our fence to make sure we got good alignment. And drop it right down. If you did like I did, just cut off the ends. And feel free to knock off some tools. Now we're going to go ahead and drill some holes in here. And then we're just going to go ahead and make a spot for the heads. And then with a hand screwdriver, we're going to go ahead and screw those in. Never use a power screwdriver on this part because it will split that board, even with the drill. Now we're just going to go ahead and cut out the squares to make our triangles for the next part. And then of course bring it over to the miter saw, make some of those triangles, and we're good to rock and roll. We're just going to go ahead and line those up with the lines that we drew on the board, so that way it keeps it a nice 45-degree angle. Make sure to take some time and measure this out for your project. And then just throw some glue on there. And then watch out for the big guy, because the bigger board wants to push the other one out of the way. So you got to keep those really, really level. Doing a little bit of tack nailing in here is not a bad idea. Just don't go overboard with this. Then just double check, make sure that you're perfectly 45 in there with a trusty piece of wood. And now we're going to go ahead and make our fences. This is pretty easy. These just need to be about the same height as the actual top to bottom is there in the little cove we have. Glue that together. Again, kind of throw some tack nails in there real quick, and you're good. We're just going to drill a little hole here for our T-track runner. That'll pop through real nice. And we can just slide that right in, and then we can use our little star knobs to hold that down. And we're just going to go ahead and cut a little slice out of here, so this way we know where the table saw actually cuts and how thick that cut is. Now before we do our first spline on here, we're going to go ahead and raise the blade up until we get to a spot that we're comfortable with the spline being. About halfway up the wood's normally pretty good. Then put the frame inside the spline jig and hold it down while you're pushing it through the blade. It'll want to move a lot, so make sure you're holding it down real good. Each time that you come in for a new spline, make sure that you are flipping it in the same direction. So front to the right is an example, all the time. This will keep consistency in the way it looks, because no matter how good you make this project, you're probably always going to have a little bit of variance. After you cut down some strips about the size of your saw blade, just glue those up real good in the little slot that you made, and then you can either cut them off like we're doing here, or you can use a sander to be able to go ahead and sand on the edges. Just be careful with that, because you don't want to round over your edges unless that's the look you're going for, of course. And this is basically what it looks like in the end. Hey, I hope you enjoyed our video on the spline jig, and I hope you'll go out and build one yourself, or at least inspire you to build something very similar to it. That's what all these videos are about. In our next video, we'll be going over how to make inlays in the fancy picture frame, which, let me show you one of those. And voila, this is what the inlays are going to look like. I'll bring this up here. And we're going to be showing how to do that with the flat tooth blade that we talked about earlier in the video. So definitely stay tuned for that. And then we're going to show you how to go and put all of this together at the end of the project. So that's going to be really neat, how we get all these neat cuts and stuff in here, and just surprisingly simple. So be looking for that. That's coming up amongst a ton of other awesome DIY videos and stuff that you can do. Some with limited tools, some with a few extra tools. Depends on how fancy you are. We've got some great table projects, things like that coming up. Make sure that you are definitely liking, subscribing, and hitting that bell notification icon so that way you don't miss any of our newest videos, because we have got a lot of new content coming up here really soon. In the meantime, thanks again for watching, and from Woodworking Therapy and myself, have a great day out there and stay safe in the shop.